Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Immersion Day, introducing Idexcel AIDE, our automated intelligent data extractor. We're really glad that you guys took the time to join us for this virtual event, and we're excited to share some really great information that we've got lined up for you. A few general notes and features about this Zoom webinar that I'd like to point out to you guys are the Q&A. So please use the Q&A for specific questions. Avoid the chat. We'll use that for any technical difficulties or if you guys need any help with any of the information. But specific questions, we'll leave that to the Q&A because we've got some specific times set aside to address them all. I'll use the chat to share other information with you as necessary. So let's get started and we'll take a look at our agenda for the day. So we're going to run through just 4 key items: the intro to Idexcel, the story behind AIDE and how it got started. Then we'll move on to the demo, and then we'll take a look at some of the major industry challenges that are solved. So I'm going to go off of video to give a better bandwidth. So quick intro about Idexcel. So we are a professional services and technology solutions provider headquartered in Herndon, Virginia, with over 20 years of experience implementing complex technologies. We're an AWS exclusive partner specializing in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data services, and cloud services for both the commercial and public sector customers. We have over 100 AWS certified cloud practitioners on our team, and we hold various competencies within the AWS ecosystem. You can take a look at these badges that we've got on our next slide. So we're an advanced consulting partner in the DevOps, financial services, migration, et cetera. So we're really, really proud of a lot of these, and we've got a lot more certifications in the works in 2021. So Idexcel is focused on supporting the AWS cloud, and we're a preferred partner for a well-architected framework. We specialize in 4 core service areas with extensive expertise in migration, machine learning, cloud native, and data modernization. So now let's get to know our speakers a bit. So Anand brings more than 22 years of IT experience to lead Idexcel's emerging technologies practice, manages the development of new solution offerings, specializing in digital transformation practices using advanced AI technologies, data analytics in the cloud. Fun fact, when he isn't working with clients, he is out in the outdoors with his family in the beautiful Pacific Northwest on the West Coast.
Hey guys.
Yep. So Vish leads, we'll move on. Yep. Vish leads Idexcel's AI and automation practice. He'll be leading the main part of this presentation. And fun fact, he is currently a Kaggle competitions expert. And his superpower is fast forwarding customer journeys into the machine learning space using AWS. So we'll go ahead to the next part of this. So we have a poll for you guys, just to get to know a little bit about, what's going on in your organizations currently. So this is really, are you currently using any of the following data extraction tools? And if you're not, NA obviously is a clear answer. So I'll give about 15, 20 more seconds for everybody to give their responses. All right, closing the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, great. So share these results with you. So this is 25% doc parser, 25% raw sub, 25% OCR, and then 50% are using other as well. Right. Thank you guys so much. So we will hand this over to Anand and get started on the story behind Idexcel AIDE and how we got started.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Good morning, everyone. I just went off video just to save bandwidth here. My name is Anand, and I lead the digital transformation practice at Idexcel. I have been with the company for more than 10 plus years, and I have led various go-to-market initiatives within the organization. For the past 4 years, I've been focusing exclusively on our AWS practice. And in the last 2 years, I've been working closely with the team and our customers on expanding various so-called superpowers within our practice, and machine learning being one of them. When we initially started this practice, we diligently made the decision to first expand our technical strength as our core first steps. Today, we have a dedicated team of 12 plus data scientists, various core Python and Node.js programmers, and a solid group of full stack developers within our machine learning practice pool. So that's substantial buildup of our technical strength here. Most of our team members are AWS machine learning specialty certified, and we are working closely with our AWS partner development managers and AWS training team to get our entire team machine learning specialty certified by end of Q2. It's very aggressive, but we really want to make sure that we are able to bring value to our customer by making sure that all our resources are entirely certified. We also have a dedicated RPA practice complementing our machine learning practice. And our RPA engineers are all advanced Automation Anywhere certified professional. By the way, we are also partners with Automation Anywhere. Bottom line, we built end-to-end automation solution, combining both machine learning and RPA tool, and we call it invisible automation. In the past couple of years, our primary focus has been around these 4 AWS machine learning services: Amazon Textract, Amazon Comprehend, Amazon Lex, and Amazon Recognition. Often, we also build solution using custom machine learning models where we use Amazon SageMaker, especially when it is on scale, and create APIs for our models to interact directly using SageMaker endpoints. In fact, our solution framework that we are discussing today is Idexcel AIDE, is fully built around Amazon Textract. We also have awesome partnership with AWS. We are an Catalyst partner for the AWS machine learning services. We work very closely with AWS machine learning labs on various joint go-to-market initiatives on sales and solutions on some of the above mentioned services like Lex and Textract and Recognition and all that. The cool thing about working with AWS and customers is exposure to a lot of OpenStacks, right? So our solution for our customers are built using popular open source AI stacks, with machine learning models, computer vision techniques, natural language processing techniques, and neural networks. Now, some of the notable ones are TensorFlow. We are partners with TensorFlow, PyTorch, Scikit-learn, Spacey, and others. And the last point, I really want to expand on the last point, serverless AI solutions. This is very important, and this is where we see the real impact from our customers. AWS helps us build and deploy solutions on the cloud as a serverless solution. As you know, with serverless, you only end up paying for what you use for compute and optimized machine learning training and inference services and all that stuff. So you just pay for what you use. I also want to throw some numbers regarding AWS machine learning solutions, right? By utilizing AWS infrastructure and the solution, the customers have actually reduced 50% of their training time. It provides 90% scaling efficiency and improves price and performance by 25%. And the next one is important. 91% of cloud-based PyTorch runs on AWS. And 92% of cloud-based TensorFlow runs on AWS. as you can see, such a huge adoption of open source machine learning library within the AWS ecosystem. I think we can move on to the next slide. I really want to touch upon this slide here because this basically tells you our engagement mindset before we jump into strategies. This is a quote from Jeff Bezos. It says, if you are competitor focused, you have to wait until there is a competitor doing something. Being customer focused allows you to be more pioneering. And this quote resonates so well in what we do every day and how we built our practice. You must be customer obsessed in addressing their core issues by inventing new solutions. And for us, we believe this is the right way to innovate in business. And there is an actual purpose in this innovation, and it addresses the immediate market need and also brings a unique customer success story. The message that I want to share here is, don't look at your competitor, work with your customer, identify their pain areas. And if you can solve that, you have innovations in your culture. Now, this is our Idexcel 5 pillars for success, a couple of key strategies. I want to talk about this slide, not in detail though, because this can go deeper, but I want to quickly touch upon some of the strategies that we have adopted during our engagement with some of our customers. I just want to set the background before we go deep dive into AIDE. Some of these pillars are already in alignment with AWS best practices, but we go more deeper based on the customer's maturity and adoption threshold. Every customer is different. Every customer's maturity model is different, and their adoption threshold is different. So, this is just a basic framework, and we just work around it based on the customer expectations. Let me quickly talk about one strategy. What do we mean by one strategy? This is core. This is core in everything that we do, because without one strategy, you don't have a successful AI implementation. One strategy, it's basically championing AI culture within your organization across all functions: sales, marketing, HR, you name it. You need to instill that AI culture within the organization. The number one essential principle in building digital transformation using AI is to develop a clear strategic clarity and commitment within the organization. It has to be all hands on deck on the AI culture. This involves basically aligning your organization strategy with a product or a solution strategy that you plan to go to market. The important note, very important note here, is that if the executive leadership is not truly committed for the long term, you have a major challenge. And the facts back that. According to Gartner, the global business value derived from artificial intelligence alone is projected to reach $3.9 trillion by end of next year, 2022. I always go back to quotes from Jeff Bezos because we work so closely with AWS. There is this quote from Jeff Bezos. I think it was from one of those REMARS event. I don't know if you guys know about REMARS, but that's a machine learning, space, and artificial intelligence event that usually happens in Vegas, usually beginning of summer. But this was one of the quotes from Jeff Bezos a couple of years back in one of those REMARS event. It says, machine learning will empower and improve every business, every government organization, every philanthropy. Basically, there is no institution in the world that cannot be improved with machine learning. As you can imagine, there is tremendous opportunity for organization to embrace machine learning, either within their own organization, or for the customers, But for you to actually unlock the full business potential of machine learning, it will require, believe me, substantial cultural changes in the team's organization, attitude, and goals, depending on where you are in the process, adoption, and maturity model within the company, right? And the main point here is, in order for the machine learning to really proliferate through the organization, both business and the technical teams must work together and share the same priorities. The important message here is AI solutions cannot be built in silos. And this is an important message. We'll be touching upon this message in all our strategy area because it's very key. It's all interconnected. But one takeaway from one strategy is all solutions, AI solutions cannot be built in silos, right? And machine learning is an iterative process, one which can only succeed through constant experimentation. There will be mistakes made during this journey. Believe me, there is going to be so much mistakes during this journey. But the organization will have to look beyond these mistakes. And this is perhaps the most important cultural shift that is required, right? I think it should be more fault tolerant, meaning gracefully handle failures and learn from it and build on it. Only by tolerating these failures can the organization successfully cross over to the next side or the other side. I think let's talk about AI. I think I went a little deeper on strategy, but I think we are on time, at least for now. Let's get into Agile AI. It's self-explanatory, but I really want to touch upon a couple of points within Agile AI. Unlocking the value of AI requires a fundamental shift in mindset and the adoption of an agile approach across the organization. And this is common. You really need to do that. It may not be a solution for all, but executing agile techniques is a valuable tool set to have, especially in the exploding arena of artificial intelligence and advanced and data analytics, right? But why use agile? And the simple fact is, agile project is best used for projects where you have, to be honest, crappy requirements, literally poorly defined requirements and scope. And that's where agile succeeds, right? And how do they do that, right? Continuous and cyclic iteration that leads to rapid discovery. This is important, rapid discovery, hence your ability to fail fast and learn from your failures. And this is very key in machine learning because, believe me, you get requirements on a weekly basis and you really need to show value real time on a weekly basis. And agile is the way to go. Of course, with agile, you bring other benefits as well, faster go-to markets, competitive advantages, better collaboration. But the main thing is you fail fast and you learn from your failures. But at the end of the day, the key here is you need to have that product-focused mindset, even for AI solutions, right? That developing a product-focused mindset using agile is an absolute must for any AI-centric operating model. Sometimes it just helps to build something that fits into an existing business model rather than reinventing an entirely new operating model just for AI-centric solutions. And we have come across this in various engagements, right? Because nowadays, AI projects are all built on the cloud using microservices so that there is minimal impact to the organization's core application. And you get the flexibility to test and retest and scale and run some high-powered AI solutions can be deployed in the cloud, for easier scalability. So there's a lot of flexibility with that approach. And one takeaway that I want you guys from this particular topic here is the success of Agile AI is not just about process and technology. It is, again, coming back to culture, especially in machine learning projects. We call it the data culture. Quality data is really worth its weight in gold in machine learning projects. One of the biggest challenges that we find in projects are the amount of data and the quality of data that we have to use to train these models. And one common mistake organization often make in their machine learning practice or journey, is employing a bunch of data scientists with agile knowledge and ask them to work in silo, building machine learning models without any data strategy in place, right? So what happens is this process often fails because there is no organization-wide data strategy, and the machine learning adoption project fails completely within the organization because the core here is they are incapable of absorbing and nurturing the valuable insights that is generated from the silo machine learning models. And that's very important. We do all this silo models, but if there is no enterprise-wide data strategy, then you're not really using those insights. And that we see a lot of projects, machine learning projects fail because of lack of adoption. And that's another key reason why we really need to impart that culture of data strategy. And data strategy is going to be very important because you will hear me talk about data strategy and culture through all our best practices. The next one I really want to I think we're losing time here. Data and infrastructure alignment. It's self-explanatory. Data, it's a main ingredient for AI success. Machine learning success are highly dependent on the quality of data, like I said earlier. Without proper data strategy, you are going to fail, right? And the right data strategy. So what is the right data strategy? The right data strategy for machine learning should aim to break down silos, obviously get away from silos, enable IT teams to easily and quickly access and collect the data that they need. That's time to market is very important. And for that, you need to have that flexibility. And some of the recent things that we are seeing out in the market is the adoption of data lakes, for example, right? Data lakes has become increasingly common and one of the most efficient model out there for the simple fact that, data lakes offers the agility and the flexibility that companies need to actually manage multiple data types, from a wide variety of data sources. And the good thing is it's both structured and unstructured data into a centralized repository. Unstructured data, you hear me talk in one of the market needs, but I think it's like 80% of the market data in the next 4 or 5 years is all going to be unstructured data. So it's very important for us to make sure that the data is aligned based on the need. And from the infrastructure standpoint, I really want to talk a couple of things in infrastructure here because there has been a lot of success implementations with infrastructure. Big companies can move to infrastructure overnight, but small companies, it's an expensive undertaking. And we usually mostly work with small and medium-sized companies. We also support a lot of enterprise customers, but we see the challenge between enterprise and SMBs. You can always buy powerful computers today, but believe me, next week it'll be obsolete with so much stuff's going on within the sector. And that's why in Idexcel, we are completely all in on the cloud, especially on AWS. We are exclusively on AWS. And recently, AWS has dedicated extraordinary, tremendous infrastructure components like P3 and P4 instances for training needs. And this is very important. For anytime you train, you need that high-powered capabilities, right? And the newly introduced, this is as new as three months or 2 months back in reInvent in December of 2020, AWS introduced Trainium, machine learning custom chips, and Gaudi accelerator, suitable for any large-scale training needs. So the infrastructure is vastly improving. It gives the customers and the machine learning developers the right tool set to really build high-powered, high-scalable machine learning solutions. The fourth one is people and technology. Again, it's self-explanatory. I really want to, one point that I really want to do is, building your team and the customer team. It's not easy. The obvious challenge here is to build that deep subject matter expertise, not only in data science. When you build this, you need to have that subject matter expertise in software, data science, and advanced analytics, and your full stack development team. So it's not just data scientists. Just by hiring data scientists, you may solve some models, but you really will not be able to go end to end, right? But naturally, building this kind of foundation will take time. Believe me, it took us some time. But you can make tremendous progress in the interim with a small group of really motivated and knowledgeable go-getters, and that's very important. And I think that should be the focus. Is let's make sure that you have the right team across all sectors. And the last one I really want to talk about is start small and scale. This is very important. This is purely based on some of the key experiences that we have had with our customers. Basically, what we mean by start small and scale is go beyond POCs. A couple of years back when we started off, we were doing a lot of POCs. Everybody was happy with POCs. But then we found out that we do all these POCs, but for reasons that we know now, the customer is hesitant to go into the production environment, right? And we really went back and looked at it and said, why? Why is this a problem, right? The important thing is after you complete few POCs, organization must take that leap of faith towards scaling the machine learning across the business, right? And it's both, we found that it's both technical and a cultural challenge. From the technical standpoint, achieving that level of scalability requires organization to, first of all, make it easier for everybody to, for developers to use machine learning. And that's built, you can have the data scientists, but then again, data scientists are a rare breed. You need to have the right data scientists, and they should be the right skills to build the right model based on your custom business requirements and all that stuff. So, one of the things that we were able to solve, and this really impeded the customer to go to production, because they were like, okay, it looks great in POC, but how do we internally be able to support this and maintain this and add new models and train new models? These were some of the challenges that we were seeing in the market. So we were able to, get over this hurdle by partnering with a couple of companies that have already built pre-built machine learning models, right? So you don't have to build something from scratch. We have partnerships that, we work with the partners. They have built a lot of pre-built machine learning models across various verticals, across various functionalities within each verticals. So this actually really brought value to the POCs that we were trying to do. And then we were able to move some of them into production, either through pre-built or giving them some custom solutions. So that is one of the challenges that we were facing. And then from the cultural standpoint, it again goes back to the similar scenario I talked about in Agile AI, where the mistake organization make is you make this you make this investment in data scientists, and they work in silos, and they start building all these POCs. But the problem that we saw was, the technical team approves this POC, but there was a complete disconnect between the technical team and the actual business stakeholders, in the sense that whatever the POCs that we were building was not a real usable business use case out in the field, right? And this really slowed down our progress on a lot of machine learning initiatives, because the adoption was not there at the business level. And it's all about mindset, and that's why you need to have that mindset and the commitment to adopt the right business use case for you to help scale, not only from POCs, but also in production use cases. I think let's quickly talk about market needs and challenge. I think this will be the last slide before I jump into AIDE. I don't want to keep you guys from AIDE here. I'll quickly run through this. Market needs and challenges. We talked about data volume. Yeah, data volume is something that we are seeing a lot. And I think according to projections from IDC, 80% of the worldwide data will be unstructured in the next 4 years by end of 2025. 80% of the worldwide data. And why is the data volume so high? First of all, because we have so far not identified, until recently, we have not identified methods to actually extract the data, right? And it's been piling on. The other important is that the data were essentially created for human consumption. It was not actually geared towards machines, but the technologies have evolved, and now everybody wants to identify value from every data source that they ingest, and hence there is a lot of demand for unstructured data. Data variety, we touched upon this. Unstructured data. When you look at unstructured data, especially there are 3 different forms of unstructured data that we have come across. Obviously you have your data that is coming from audios and videos and tweets. From the banking standpoint, they are the ones who actually categorize this into 3 categories. You have your forms, you have your text-based and scan-based PDF documents, tax forms, checks and deposit forms. Those are all forms. Those are all part of forms. Then you have tables, and then you have text-only data. Your legal, contractual data, emails, extracting information from emails and letters, etc. And recently, and very recently, with the development of handwritten recognition functionality, there's been a lot of need to implement handwritten recognition, and we have actually implemented that in our AIDE. And Vish will walk you through some of the use cases that we have used handwritten, and also walk you through a demo using that. Quickly on traditional OCR, as you guys all know, traditional OCR is all text-based. So the extraction is completely template. So there is no intelligent extraction here. So it just extract whatever it sees. So literally, there is no feedback loop. There is no learning or building the model. And that's the challenge. People needs more intelligent, automated end-to-end extraction. And the other one is it's expensive. It's very expensive because anytime right now, because it is not automated, you have to get the humans in the loop. And when you get humans in the loop, you have a lot of other additional overhead. And then also the extraction is not 100% accurate. There are errors. And the more errors you have, the more expensive it becomes to processing those. And it's time consuming. And lastly, less scalable. And this is important. This is where we see a lot of customers come to us saying, we need a scalable data extraction tool because the documents are coming in, the unstructured data are coming in, and they really need to scale. Anytime you use a non-AI solutions, they're not scalable, right? Because they cannot, and they cannot meet the high volume data needs. And that's the challenge that we see out there in the market right now. Okay, I think I have 15 more minutes. Let me quickly, maybe 10 more minutes. Let me quickly talk about AIDE. And this is why you guys are here. Why AIDE? How did AIDE come into being, right? Our need for building a smart data extraction actually started with one of our anchor customer, and then it expanded into other customers. We have a lot of strengths. Most of our customer base is in the financial services. Like Megan said, we have a competency in financial services with AWS. So it started with one anchor customer, and then it kind of expanded into others. But some of the common issues that we were seeing across our customer base was, manual template. Almost everything was driven by manual template, and that's a big problem, right? And the solutions, anytime you have manual template, the solutions requires manually defining the extraction limits in your text fields. Most of your, if you have a huge last name, most of the data is truncated depending on how the set field length is. And these are all impacting the downstream applications. Another thing is cannot handle variations. And this is absolutely right, because it's a non-intelligent AI tool, and it cannot adopt for even the slight variation in the template changes, right? When there is variation, then you need to have the backend team come in, take a look at it, and manually adjust the extraction limit for the new variation. And this was a big problem. And the other one is operations and maintenance overhead for new templates, right? Another thing is most of the current COTS, commercially off-the-shelf applications out there, they usually use a standard configuration template based on the classification to assist in future extraction. But the problem here is there is no key value pair concept built into that for intelligent processing. And the documents, when it comes to the inbound pipeline, there is no automated file classification. And these were all causing a lot of manual effort. Literally, somebody has to really classify the documents that has been uploaded and put that into W-2s or 1099s or checks or deposits. And these were all done manually. And they really wanted to have an automated process that took care of that, right? And that's where and if you need an automated process, and then you really need to pay up to get those kind of tools into the ecosystem. And the other important thing that we were actually finding out is validations check for error is literally non-existent in traditional OCR tools. All it does is it just takes the data, scans it, or it retrieves the data and then dumps it. There is no validation. For example, you look at a financial statement, you have assets, you have 10 assets listed, and it totals up to $1 million. If in a traditional OCR, it just takes those 10 assets and dumps it as $1 million. But in an automated AI intelligent extraction tool, you need to validate, is it really $1 million? Is it less or more? You really need to extract that information. Only then you're able to bring that value, because the mistake that was done upstream gets translated all the way into the processing system, and there is no way of correcting it. And this was one of the biggest challenges that we were seeing in the financial services industry. And then finally, everybody wanted the new technology. They had a lot of need for handwritten. Right now, it only had printed capability. So handwritten was a huge plus. And oh yeah, one more thing, we need to validate. And many times this comes back to our strategy. We needed to validate our business case to make sure that, we have a viable POC in place. Everybody wants to do machine learning project, but you really need to go and have that conversation with them to say, is your project really machine learning? Can this sustain machine learning, or can we implement a machine learning project for this? So we went through a couple of scenarios. There were like 5 common questions that we asked, and this is also aligned with the AWS strategy as well. First of all, you need to identify, what is your current issue and how important is the solution for that issue, right? And is it really solving a real-time business problem? And the third one would be, is machine learning required to solve the problem? Like I said earlier, not every project needs machine learning. And if it is machine learning project, then the most important question is, do you have data to train the model? Because every time it's going to be a custom model. There is no flat out boiler template that we use for any machine learning model. It has to be customized. So do you have enough data to train the model? Do you have the infrastructure required to support and build ongoing models? And the important thing is, do you have people to even support this once we go into production, right? And then obviously the last one is, can you move this to production beyond the POC phase? So these are some of the common questions that we ask our customers and set the right expectation before we get in any of the conversations here. Okay, I think let's look at, I have 2 more slides here before I have Vish talk about demos. The first one here is, this is an actual real world challenge that we were finding in the market. This is a challenge from form extraction. As you can see, the input is a W-2, and then on the right-hand side, you have the output from the extractor tool. The very first thing that you see here is I've divided this into blocks for you guys to understand. You have the blue blocks. Let's look at the blue one first, right? The tool, the OCR tool, has completely misunderstood the entire form, right? It actually misunderstood this as to be a table rather than a form, because there was no key value pair concept here. So it basically took the top portion and then put it in as a table rather than a form, right? And because of this, this output value is useless unless you do another extraction on top of this extraction. Because when we do an automated AI, the extraction should be seamless. It should be in a JSON file where you can actually use those JSON file as an input to a downstream application. Right now, based on this output, it's just a pure extraction. There is no intelligent logic that goes on here. The other thing that I want to point out here is look at the bottom one where you have the yellow shaded section, right? This is basically relates to the bottom W2 2019 in your input, right? This information is absolutely not needed because everybody knows based on the file classification that this is a W2. And there is nowhere in any of the downstream system that you need to have an explanation of what W2 is and what it does and all this stuff. So this tool literally, this is a challenge, right? This commercially COTS tool literally took what is there in that form and then converted into a string of text. And even then the conversion was not right because as you can see, 2019, it took it as 201, right? So that's another challenge. Another challenge here is if you look at that brown shaded area, that is actually, that is equivalent to 0.13, right? So there is a difference. When it saw a difference in the font, it completely ignored the data underneath that. So it ignored the checkboxes and it just understood this as a single string of stream and then threw out output as entire gibberish that is completely unusable. So this is one example where we have seen in the market, and Vish will walk you through a real world example on how AIDE can solve this problem. And the final slide I have here is, this is also a very important piece that we see in the market, table extraction, right? And this is huge in financial industries. Your profit and loss statement, your financial statement, all have table in that. So again, this is an commercially off-the-shelf tool that did the extraction here. And as you can see here, on the right-hand side, let's talk about the header first, the brown shaded one, right? When you look at this header, it did not recognize the header at all. It basically took the header information from the input and dumped it as an individual cell. So if you see area cultivated, it took area in one cell, put cultivated into another cell, and then just drop without any logic. It just dumped the data into cells, right? So this is absolutely useless piece of information. And the other important thing is look at the green shade. Let's look at the green shade. What happened here is, looks like there is a margin, a slightly lesser margin space between the margin and water requirement. And instead of splitting this into two separate columns, it basically merged two columns into one. So the header information got merged, the value of both the columns got merged into one, right? And that's a huge problem. And then there was also another problem here is that, if you look at the castor seed, the one that has blue shades, castor seeds is supposed to be one single field, but it's split into two different rows. So castor, one row, seeds, one row. Same thing with shellfish. Shell, it itemized as one row, and fish, it itemized as one row. And the funny thing is avocado, it just, you can see AVOCA, it just split that based on, what you see there. So at the end of the day, none of them are intelligent out there, and it is not solving a business process for the customer, right? And that is where we really spend time on AIDE, helping identifying some of this real world business use cases and helping solve the customers. So I think I just over 5 minutes here. I'll let Vish go on with the demo. I'll pass it on to Vish, and I really appreciate you guys' time this morning. And I will stick around. And if you have any questions, we can definitely, I'll be available to answer them at the end of the webinar. Thanks everyone for your time. Take it away, Vish.
Thank you, Anand. I think we have a quick poll for the participants. Megan, you want to quickly run through the poll?
Yeah, we're gonna just do the second poll. And this is about assessment readiness. So you guys can see that now. Are you looking for an assessment to understand if the data extraction solution can help your organization? So just gauging general interest. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds or so to put in your responses. I see them coming in. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to end the poll here and then share the results with you guys. It looks like there's a decent amount of folks who are looking for one, not quite there yet and unsure. Thank you guys for participating in that poll. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much, Megan. I think it's now for us to look at the actual tool. So what we have AIDE for you here. So just going to go to the home screen. So this is how this is exactly how it looks like, and I think we will now look at the capabilities of AIDE. I think with the demo. So this is a demo environment that we have built for you. So I'll click on continue for us to proceed further. So as we discussed, as Anand discussed in his slides, he did show what are the different problems that the industry is facing with data extraction, specifically to unstructured data extraction. So we'll cover three broad areas. AIDE can broadly do two things. One, it can do extraction. The other, it can do redaction. Let's start off with extraction as a capability. So in extraction, we are going to look at forms. So let's click on forms. I'm going to go select a form for you. I think let's look at the W2 form which Anand showed to us in the problem area. So let's select that. I'm going to quickly show you the actual form here. So this is exactly how our extraction looks like. I mean, pretty straightforward. I believe everybody knows W2. We don't need any introduction. Everything available as a key value. I mean, this is one of the standard forms that is used, and this is a copy A. The key is in red font. The values are in a black color font. So let's just see as to when we pass this, what happens as a result. So I'm going to click on submit. I'm going to submit the form, and here it is. So AIDE is clearly able to understand the key and the corresponding value for it. So it can understand one of the problems that we saw in Anand's form is the complete, in the example that Anand showed, where there was a misidentification by the traditional OCR software is, it completely did not understand that, I mean, the text and the value is supposed to be shown as a key value pair. But here you have everything extracted as a key and a value, I mean, you can look at it. I mean, wherever there is currency elements, there are dollar symbols, and everything is extracted in such a way that you can use this for further processing in any document that you would want. Okay, so we also give an option for users to directly download from here. So this downloads like a zip containing CSV. But yeah, we would be able to give this. We would be able to add the solution as an API for customers to add it to serve this as a downstream application, and they would be able to build it on top of it. So I'm going to go back to my host screen, and I'm going to look at another extraction here. So this time it's going to be a bigger form. So this is going to be 1120. So why bigger? I'll just submit it, and I'm going to come back to my form to show you the actual sample. So there's more information here. A lot of them are closely related. The alignment of text here is slightly different. If you see 1A and 1B, they're at a different position. If you see the rest of the values, they're at a different position altogether. And on the top, the arrangement of key value is different. and the rest of the form, the arrangement of key value is different. So there's like a lot of variations that are available here. And towards the bottom here again, it just changes the way in which the information is represented. So let's look at AIDE. How is it extracted? So it's extracted seamlessly. It is first showing you the key and value for the top part of the document, name, number, street, address, room, and things like that, and city details. And then, of course, there is a bunch of checkboxes on the left-hand side. They are identified whether it is a true or false. And then we have three important details, which is employee identification number, date incorporated, and total assets, which is on the right-hand side. That is extracted. And then each of the individual, and then there's like a checkbox at the bottom before the actual currency values could start. So that's also extracted seamlessly. And you see each of the currency values extracted corresponding to their key. There's absolutely no errors. And so basically what we've done is we have built a layer on top of the Amazon Textract, which is already amazing, to ensure that the accuracy is top notch and we have no compromise. So this is in terms of extraction of forms. So let's look at another variety of form. I think Anand mentioned that AIDE can do more than just printed text. So we're going to show you a form which has got a capability of which has got handwritten text extracted in it. So I'm going to go to my handwritten. I'm going to select my form, and let's look at how the extraction appears. So this is a 1099, another important form which is used in several lending options. So I'm going to go to form. If you see here, clearly handwritten, looks a little legible. I think let's give it a easy form to start off with for handwritten extraction. So we'll come back here to look at the output. Output looks amazing. It extracts every little detail as clear as possible. The key and the value is clearly separated. We would be able to again give this as a CSV for further use, or we would be able to produce a JSON file which you could use it further. So so I'm going to go back to home. Now let's increase the complexity of the input form, which has got some noise in it. This is again forms, and this is again a handwritten form. So I'm going to select this form, and I'm going to come back to the home screen to show you how does that form actually look like. If you see here, this is the input form that I've passed. Number one, it is not perfectly taken. Most of the times, taking pictures is not that easy. Of course, I mean, we don't expect our customers to give us the best picture, but we apply computer vision techniques to remove the noise, and then we then pass the overall picture to AWS Textract to extract. If you see here, there is also a color degradation in the entire form. So we'll go back to the application to see how AIDE extracts. Another important thing that you see here with handwritten text is that you can't write uniformly. I mean, there are instances where your text is slightly slanted. If you see here, the address is on the left. It's more inclining towards the right. I believe these are all complexities that you will see. Checkbox is actually ticked, but there's a long tick over here, and then so on and so forth. So this is extracted now. If you see here, you have every detail that is extracted, that is without an issue. It can specifically understand. It can specifically understand checkboxes. It knows where is date available, and it just extracts the date in the way in which you want it, and every single detail that is required is extracted without an issue. So that's forms. I believe we've covered just one part of it. When we discussed the different varieties of unstructured data, the second most popular type of unstructured data that we saw that is available is table data. So now let's select table data, and I'm going to go and show you some options in table data. And So this is, I'm going to show you a couple of options because we're running out of time. I'll show you the first one, which is a very simple table. I'll click on submit and let me go back to my screen to show you the actual input. Um, so this looks pretty straightforward. I think you have the table has rows and columns clearly divided by lines, and the headers are also highlighted with the blue color. But there's noise on the top and at the bottom. So ideally, in one of the examples that was shown earlier, we showed a traditional OCR also picks up the noise, which is actually not required. So if we specifically indicate it as table, the output should only indicate the table, right? So let's see how Textract extracts. I think precisely what we need. The two columns, I think column 1, column 2, all the values are extracted, and so on and so forth. So let's increase the complexity by giving a little more difficult table to extract. So I'm again going to select table here and click on browse. And let's give a noisy table where there's a lot of text around it and for it to extract. So I'm submitting and I'm coming back here to show you the actual example. So this is something that we picked up from a research paper. And if you see here, there's like a lot of noise around the table, but we just wanted to challenge and see if this can extract the table that is required between all this noise. So we'll go back here. Simple as that. I think it identified the columns clearly, 3 columns, and it identified the individual values without any issue. With this, we'll move on to our presentation. I think that's what we had, which we wanted to show you. So we showed you capabilities of printed text extraction, handwritten text extraction for both forms, as well as for in table, it was only printed text extraction. So what is AIDE? So AIDE is a customized solution framework that we would customize it and build it for you, right? It has a complete AI stack. I think with all popular with all the necessary machine learning technologies, computer vision, machine learning, natural language processing for text, and of course neural networks. So you can choose in this customized solution framework, you can choose which type of data extraction suits your need. It is either extraction from forms or tables or just simple text. I mean, we'd only give you what is specifically your requirement. Once you choose the high level extraction type, we then customize it for the specific documents that you need. I mean, like we discussed earlier. I mean, AIDE specifically is meant for us to give you only what is required, and most of the times machine learning models, there's no one size that fits all. I believe it just works only after we customize it and tweak it to the particular need that is required. So extraction is not based on template and does not require any further adjustment for individual document variations. So let's say if we give you forms extraction out of the box, it will work for a lot of forms, but we do certain amount of pre-processing and post-processing to enhance it for the specific form that you would want to extract. Any type of input document will work. This could be Word documents. Of course, yeah, Word is not that popular with extraction, but yeah, Word is popular with plain text extraction. We do accept PDFs. We accept both text-based PDFs and scanned image-based PDF. You could just simply pass images, JPEG files, PNG files, and a lot of tax forms, account payables and account receivable file statements, bank statements, and financial documents. So any of this as input document would work absolutely fine. And then we have the most important thing. It just does not work only on printed text. It can also work on handwritten text too. So as part of the initial setup, the solution would fit right into your existing business process, and it can communicate with your existing application using APIs, or we can build a UI if required. And once the setup is complete, you simply just pay as per your usage, and nothing more. I think this is exactly what we wanted to show you at a very high level. These are the most important points that we have for AIDE. So now let's look at some of the industry solutions that AIDE can solve, right? So I'll quickly move on to the first case study here. So so this is the financial accounts. This case study is about mapping financial statements. Financial statements consist primarily of balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statements. So these statements have a list of line items. I think let's consider a balance sheet. In a balance sheet, there are 5 main categories of line items. They are current assets, non-current assets, current liabilities, non-current liabilities, and then equity. I think equity is not in all, but that's there as well. So within current assets, one of the most popular line item that most of you are familiar with is cash and cash equivalents. So cash and cash equivalent typically refers to a line item where the value of the company assets that are either in cash or those assets that can be immediately converted into cash. So the challenge that we're trying to solve here is to identify the layout of the input document, which are financial statements, extract and map the individual line items into standard terminologies. So why is it required to do this in the first place? So this, for us to, the customer was trying to, from the financial statement, they were trying to evaluate how good the company is. And there was financial ratios that were calculated, but calculating financial ratios cannot be done on any term that comes to us. So we require standard terms, right? So that's exactly any balance sheet or any income statement that we get in, we convert it into standard terminologies, and those standard terminologies are further used for calculating ratios, and the ratios is eventually used for credit decisioning process. So our solution can classify an input file before identifying the. It can understand the document layout. It can say whether it is and based on the terminologies that are there, it can understand whether it is a balance sheet or an income statement, and it can extract one after the other. Right? What is the challenge? What is the challenge that we're trying to solve here? Number one, we're trying to solve the document layout reduction, which is a very important challenge. Since there are numerous layouts in which the information can be presented, I think it does not matter. There are several different layouts in which the information can be presented. So let's just talk about one particular example as to what we do after we understand the document layout. Once the document layout is clearly understood, we then go ahead and read the text in the accounts. So let's talk about current assets. And in current assets, let's say if we get an item called as line item called as PayPal account. So we know that PayPal account is equivalent to cash. So we have to build a model to say that when we receive a line item called as PayPal account, that is equivalent to cash and cash equivalents. That's exactly where machine learning comes into picture, and this is not that easy. Number one, these are not your traditional tweeted tweets, which are where we have several data sources available for you to train and customize a model. And these are financial statements. I mean, there are very few companies. You're not supposed to use financial statements of companies for purposes, but yeah, we got this specifically for a customer. And we use the financial statements and we mapped it to the requirements that are specific to the customer. And we used a very powerful text embedding technique to provide the machine with the context for accurate mapping. So the context, like I mentioned to you, PayPal account, it understands it understands based on the context in which PayPal account was used in the internet to say that PayPal account actually means cash and cash equivalents. So so we took up this challenge to extract the text without manual intervention. And after the extraction, we do the mapping for further processing. And so there were several aspects in which we had to align with the customer and work along with them. So number one, we had to ensure confidence by aligning the strategy with the customer. Like one strategy, I think Anand did inform about it. We had to deliver iteratively. So we constantly emphasize the importance of data to improve our model performance. And so our deliver iteratively is we started with a POC where we handled only Excel as input files, and then we started off with text-based PDF, and then we moved on to scan-based PDF and images. So one step at a time, and we surely got the customer's confidence, and we delivered what the customer specifically needs. So what did we deliver to the business? I mean, this was pretty big. If you look at financial statements can be, as big as, let's take only the balance sheet. A balance sheet can have easily, I mean, especially for a small, medium business world, balance sheets can have about 200 to 300 different accounts for every one of them. And they can just go into bigger sizes very soon. So it takes about an average statement with about 100 accounts. Let's say we're trying to map it for one single year, 2020, for us to copy the text, or for us to even if we have an option to upload the financial statement, for us to map it, saying that, okay, a PayPal account is cash equivalents, and similarly 300 different accounts to the standard terminology, takes about 30 minutes. And we, using machine learning, and once they upload the input document, we understand the document layer, and we map the actual terminology to the standard terms in less than a minute. So that's a 30x savings just out of the box. And I think our accuracy in terms of mapping, after it sees a particular statement for the first time, it's easily over 95% accuracy. So why did I mention that the first time it's slightly less? Because I can call in my statement in any terminology that I want. I can say let's say like a Bank of America account, Bank of America account 2, and Bank of America account 3, and all of these can be called as all of this can be called as cash and cash equivalents. And in fact, I can say 1 and 2 as cash and cash equivalents, and I can say I mean, I could customize it in whatever I want, because this is my statement, right? For my understanding, I can customize it in the way in which I want. But once you teach to a model for your use case, this is what it means. It understands, and the next time it can extract without a problem. Okay, so let's move on to the next use case. I think this is a pretty standard use case that we find everywhere. This is about tax form extraction and reduction. This was a lending customer who tried to approach us, and they had several different tax forms used in commercial lending process. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the popular. If you're familiar with commercial lending, I think the popular ones are 1065, 1120, 1120S, and some of the variations of 1040 and 990, and so on and so forth. There are variations of 990s as well. So currently the customer is using a third-party extraction tool where they have to manually define the extraction template for each tax form. So let's say if they have a 1065 now, they using the third-party tool, they have to show the 1065, and they have to they have to specifically indicate that name of the customer will be over here, and the value will be over here. And that template in which way he decides, saying that this is the input and this is the value. As you can see in the example here, the key and value has to be manually assigned to the traditional tool. And this assignment should be saved so that in future, if there's another 1065 comes, that should be retrieved and then should be used for extraction together. Now that's like a daunting task, right? The biggest challenge that they had is, even if there's a slight variation in the 1065, right? Because we just saw in a printed text form, I mean, the text can be on the top or it can be slightly at the bottom. And I mean, because it's like a free form where they can enter the text, they have the flexibility to enter wherever they want. But yeah, even for a slight variation, they had to go and change the template. They have to go and alter the template in which the information is available. So without the change in template, in fact, the bigger problem here is the text is truncated. So if you can see here in the example, the key is here and the values over here. And I think if the value goes outside the box, the text get truncated. And in fact, in one of the one of the forms that we have, I can quickly show you what is the challenge that can happen here. So let's say if there's a company name that is slightly bigger, and if it goes beyond this particular field and it extends into employee identification number, the text gets truncated completely. I mean, it's mostly possible in the address as an information. So I mean, our AIDE adjusts to all this. I mean, you don't have to do this. Along with the tax form extraction, the customer wanted us to handle the document redaction problem too. So unlike traditional OCR, I think Amazon Textract is based on machine learning based OCR, which is trained on millions of forms, and hence it can understand the key value pair with these. I mean, there's absolutely no template driven approach that we have to do. We just have to pass the form, and it can understand as to where is the key and where's the value. And this completely eliminates the need for manual adjustments. We just don't have to do manual adjustments at all. So using machine learning, Textract can accurately determine and differentiate of the key value arrangements in these forms. Usual key value representations are something like key in the left and value in the right. And this one here in the example is key on the top and the value in the bottom, right? So these are usual representations. But regardless of the representation, Textract can clearly determine where is the key and where's the value, and AIDE on top of it will polish and provide the data in such a way that it can understand the key value without any issue. So so Idexcel AIDE is like a layer on top of Textract, and we've built the pre-processing and post-processing steps that makes that gives superpower to Amazon Textract. So as part of pre-processing, what we do is we enhance the image quality, like we saw in the handwritten example. The image quality is enhanced, and before we pass the input file to Textract, we do that and then we pass it. And as part of post-processing, we know these forms, right? We know those forms. I mean, out of the box, it works really well, but we know this form. Some of our customers, because it's a financial use case, they expect 100% accuracy, right? So we kind of customize it. So more than the accuracy, they want the data output to be ready-made and used, in their downstream application. For instance, if you see in this example that we have given here, there's a key which has a stream of text, and the value is a checkbox value. I mean, Textract can identify this and give you, but in some business application, you want a true or false as an answer. But in some business application, you want as 1 for true and 0 for false. And then, different variations that are there. So this is where our post-processing helps, and we customize it and we ensure that we have a very high degree of accuracy by doing this customization. So we were able to extract information for this particular customer that we're discussing. All the tax forms at an accuracy of greater than 95% for the forms that we handled. In regards to document redaction, just as how well we can do the document extraction, we can do the redaction too. Since this is deployed in banking setup, AIDE is an AIDE being built on top of Amazon Textract. You will be wondering about the security compliance of it. So Textract is HIPAA eligible, and it's compliant with PCI, ISO, and SOC. I mean, I'm sure. I think pretty much everything fits into this particular window that we just discussed now, without any issues. I think data security is Textract's priority and our priority too. So we now have the capability to include the extraction for handwritten text as well for this particular customer. But that's a demo that we already showed to you. So that's how we're planning to enhance our solution, which we already provided to this customer, to the next level. So let's move on to the next use case, where we're going to discuss about different variation of key value extraction. Now, this is a legal document. Unlike a semi-structured form, I think that's the best way to call it. Some forms are semi-structured, where we know the key can lie in a certain boundary and the value can lie in a certain boundary. Legal document extraction is unlike that, right? I mean, I think it's very clear, right? Legal documents are just a stream of text. They're like entity extraction from plain text documents, right? For any input document, we expect the expected output is nothing but a set of key value elements. Now, this is a real estate customer who was actually employing data entry operators to go through the various contractual agreements to extract text related to real estate properties. I think as a sample image, of course, we can't show you the actual one, but this is exactly how a document looks. Some of the important details that this customer wanted us to extract is the contract execution date, the duration of the contract, the entity details, I mean, details indicating the name and address, and price details, and who are the involved parties, and of course, the details of terms and conditions. So all of this can be anywhere. And but I mean, every company have their own standard way of printing contractual documents, right? And regardless how this is, we built a solution to be able to do this. So the problem for the customer here is, number one, they had data entry operators to do the task. With the current solution, there is a significant time that is involved, and the time simply increases proportionally for the increase in volume. I mean, more documents and more time that they take to extract. So what we did is we trained a custom model using the popular Transformers framework released by Google for understanding the content of the values using the surrounding text. This is like really special for us, and this is like really important. The challenge is hard. This was a challenging problem. So we had to prepare the data for building this custom model. To our rescue, the customer had a lot of historical data, and we together were able to build the data annotation that is required for us to train the machine learning model. So I'm sure everybody's heard about transformers. Transformers are really powerful. And so we had to, regardless, we had to go through several iterations that we had to do to develop the solution, as it's a complex problem. So the AIDE solution that we built was able to do 5x more documents in the same time with a near human accuracy. So if I mean a human used to take about 5 minutes just to understand where the text, but we were able to identify the text as well as convert and place the text. Of course, the typing speed is not counted here. I mean, but yeah, the AIDE solution that we built was able to do this at 5 times the speed, which means 5 times the more documents. So in building the solution, again, we had to work with a customer to align and agree upon the most important thing is the culture in which we see. I mean, there will be failures on the way. We just have to persist through that to cross over to the other side, and get the problem solved eventually. So this is the next use case. I think I just have one more use case which I have to show to you, and let's talk about the next one, where we are trying to extract a summary of bank statements. So this is another important solution that we have built. So we were very fortunate to work along with the Visa Processing Center for creating a bank statement summarizer, right? In the current scenario, this is actually done manually by the processing officers. I'm sure a lot of you would have had the experience to go when you apply for visa. Some of these countries would require for you to go physically be available, or and sometimes you just submit the document using a zip upload, and they do this at the back end. So what they essentially do is they go through your bank statements. And then they try to understand and generate a summary of how well financially you're placed before they could process your visa. So this is in fact a determining factor, which is required for you to get an eligible visa. So there are chances, since it's manual. I'm sure. I mean, even if you consider a 3-month statement or a 6-month statement, based on the individual applicant, the number of transactions can largely vary, right? And the chances of error is high. Or sometimes there may be instances where they may ask the applicant to go back and submit an Excel file, which is then easy for them to calculate the summary. So, but regardless of all this, we do not want all of that. We just want them to download the statement from their banking application and simply pass it over to us, which we will use to extract the information. I think the most important thing is we completely eradicate the chances of error, and of course, manual processing time is completely saved. So our solution here involves multiple components. So this is again not that easy, right? So some part of the output is key value pair extraction. Something like if you see here in the example, account name, the bank name, account number is definitely not required as a summary. What is the period that is covered in the summary? And that period is not required as a time period. It is required as the number of months, to ensure that if the visa requirement is that the customer should submit at least 3 months of statements, we have to validate using that period covered. And we must identify the table structure in the document first. So we have to first narrow down to identify the table structure, and then extract the table structure, and then validate and identify only the necessary transactions from the table. That's another important point. Sometimes not all transactions are validated or it's required. So we need to validate which transactions are necessary. And then eventually, from all those transactions, we need to generate a summary statistics indicating some of the important metrics that are required for processing. So some of the challenges that we discussed in a previous case studies in the financial statement, which talks about the table extraction, was also employed over here. And in the form extraction, for us to identify the key values, also used here. So just want to talk about one important point here about the table extraction. The table can be dense in a particular page, right? Not always it's easy for us to identify the individual statement lines here. We had to break it down further, to look through using various computer vision techniques, and then pre-process the image to pass it to extract, and then the extraction is accurate enough for us to generate the summary. So I think we are projecting that this solution, once deployed, we had to develop this using mock data. And we are projecting that this solution will increase the real-time processing of statements at least by 2x. But for bigger statements, it's more than that. So with this, we believe we've just started with the framework now, and there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot more enhancements that we have, which we'll probably incorporate, and we'll keep you all updated as to how our journey goes. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. And I'd like to hand it over to Megan for the final part of our presentation. I think I just have another important component here, which is the overall architecture. This is just like a representation that we just wanted to show you. I think I've talked to you throughout the presentation, where we have the pre-processing and the post-processing, and the results can be stored in S3 buckets or can be sent as an email, and the whole thing can be Dockerized assets. So I think, like I just discussed, I think I'll hand it over to Megan to do a quick poll, and then we could move on further.
Yep. Perfect. So this is about implementation readiness. So are you looking to implement a data extraction solution in your organization? So I'll give about 30 seconds for this poll so you guys can answer that for us. Got about 15 seconds left. Thank you guys for submitting your responses. I'm going to end the poll here shortly. About 10 seconds. Oh, we're still getting some more. I'll let it go for another 5. All right. So I'm ending the poll now. Thank you guys so much for the responses. So it looks like we have a really steady group of folks who are all going to be implementing within the immediate future, 3 to 6 months, or just starting the discovery phase. Thank you. And then we also have the next poll. So this is for implementation challenges. We know that there are a lot, so we figured that this would be a good question to ask. So what challenges or impediments is your organization experiencing while implementing a data extraction solution? So launch the poll. I'll leave it open for about 30 to 45 seconds. And feel free to do multiple options. Got another 15 seconds. A few more answers coming in. So I'll give another 10 seconds or so. And ending the poll now. Thank you all again. And here are the biggest challenges that everyone is experiencing. So lack of skilled resources, lack of business use case, a lot of technical challenges, current solutions not effective, does not work, and budget constraints. All right, thank you all so much. So what I have done is included a survey link here in the chat, so you can feel free to open that. Once I close this webinar and we end the webinar, it will also be on the ending screen as well. So I've provided 2 ways, and if you don't have time today, no worries. We'll also send the link in a follow-up email, so you can fill that out as well. Should take about 2 to 3 minutes. We kept it short and sweet. Just give us a little bit of your feedback on how you enjoyed this immersion day with us. Anybody have any Q&As that you would like to add now? I'll wait a moment, and if no questions pop up. We want to thank you all so much for spending your time with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we hope that we've gained some value from our presentation. And we hope to speak to you soon. We'll also be sending a follow-up email with this on video on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to rewatch it again for interest. And we will also have a solution brief and a service sheet available to you all in the next few days. Thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.